This is the Self-Storage Podcast, where we share the knowledge and skills from the industry's leading investors, developers, and operators to help you launch and grow your self-storage business. I'm your host, Scott Meyers, and over the past 16 years, we have acquired, developed, converted, and syndicated over 2 million square feet of self-storage nationwide with the help of my incredible team at selfstorageinvesting.com, who has helped thousands of people achieve greatness in self-storage. Hey, Lyndsay, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Scott.
Well, I am so thankful that you took time out of your busy marketing schedule. For those of us that spend a toe in marketing versus you doing it full time, I know we got a lot of things cooking these days. So before we begin, I just want to give folks a little bit of background on yourself. And that is the fact that Lyndsay is she's the founder and owner of Smooth Sailing Business Growth and Real Estate Investors Marketing. And she is the go-to content marketing expert who helps clients attract and convert customers faster. Lyndsay has been featured on MSN, NBC, Fox, and published in Home Service Max magazine, has been a guest on many podcasts, including John Lee Dumas's Entrepreneurs on Fire and Joe Fairless's podcast, Best Podcast Ever. She's been described as a serial podcaster with shows like Smooth Sailing Podcast, Smooth Business Growth Podcast, and now co-hosts the REI Marketing Show. And has spoken from stage at events such as Dream Business Academy, Podfest, and Service Business Edge, and has even shared the stage with Mike Michalowicz and Jay Abraham. And we'll probably have to dive into that a little bit. Big fans of both of those guys. Lyndsay works with real estate investors to increase their podcast audience and extended their reach by building their authority status through content marketing, which is huge. And this is all what we're all about. Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm so happy to have her on the show. So Lyndsay, if you would take a moment to fill in the gaps and let our guests know a little bit more about you and what you've been up to recently.
You betcha. I mean, I used to be just VA and then dove into content marketing because it was just working so well for clients. And as I've morphed, I've seemed to attract a ton of real estate investors and all sorts of different companies in that arena. And just know that they need some help with the marketing because they're a genius with investing and money, but not so much with marketing all the time, which I totally get. I have launched a Facebook group for real estate investors marketing, having so much fun with the podcast, co-hosting it with my buddy, Aaron, who's a real estate investor copywriter. And it can feel so overwhelming, right? With content marketing, like there's so many pieces, blogs, videos, podcasts, guest podcasting, your website, social media. And it's like, it just feels so overwhelming. And I like to try to simplify it and also give people like priorities on where to start. So I just find that it doesn't need to be complicated, right?
So let's talk about the folks that now understood, especially for some of the folks that are listening on the podcast right now. They may not have gone out and had a need or at least have felt a need to build themselves up as an authority or as somebody credible in their niche in real estate. But now they're getting ready to publish a book and they want some press even before that. Or they're getting ready to raise capital. That's the biggest piece and one of the reasons why we do this. But even on the beginning stages, sometimes just to have more credibility out there so that when even brokers or bankers are looking at, do a little background on this person, what do they find? Let's start there with folks that are beginning. What are some of the first steps? How do you help those folks that are looking to do just that, to just begin to get out there?
Absolutely. And some people think, oh, it's a nice to have, not a need to have. But it really is a need to have. And here's an example that I always give. It's like if you are looking for a yoga teacher or someone that you want to do business with or whatever, you always go to their website and you always go to their social media platforms, especially Facebook. And if there's a disjunction like between the website and the Facebook and you're like, is this the same site? Or like there hasn't been a post in 2 weeks, or they just haven't given you an opportunity to connect with them through video or anything, then you just think, are they really going to be there for me? Are they the real deal? Do they really know what they're talking about? So it's kind of those first impressions. And then the next phase is that building your authority and building relationships, and especially within real estate investing. And if you are doing joint venture or raising capital, those relationships are key, right? So you want to use content marketing as your avenue to get those things accomplished. Do you want me to dive in and share some tips?
Please. Absolutely. That would be fantastic.
Alrighty. So one thing you want to do is make sure that you're consistent, right? If you are sharing blogs or articles or podcasts or videos, just make sure that you're doing it on a regular basis. And I find within real estate investing, Video is crucial. Like if you don't want to write a blog, if you don't, it's not your thing, that's totally fine. You can do videos, live videos, and then have those upload direct to YouTube using repurpose.io. It's simple, inexpensive app. And then you can even embed those on your website and build content and SEO on your site that way. And with video, not only does it give you a chance to kind of create that organic traffic, but it also gives you the opportunity to share your expertise, right? It doesn't have to be long. It can be like 3 minutes, sharing some tips about whatever it is that you know. There's tons of stuff in your head. Just get it out, what you learned that day, the deal that you did last month, whatever. And then at the end, give them a call to action to go to your website, download a free opt-in or whatever that may be. But it also, like, I don't know if you find this too, Scott, but like when you see people face to face, even if it's a video, you kind of get a feel for people, right? Like their mannerisms. You just kind of like, oh, they're not my type of person, or they are my type of person. I feel like I can trust them. So video just kind of allows you to do that so much faster. And then with Facebook algorithms, if you're doing live Facebook, you can just repurpose it in so many ways. But Facebook wants you to do video. And so they're going to put you on people's news feed much more regularly if you're doing videos rather than regular posts. And you, Scott, can even, like, when you do a video, you can even share it in an email. So you can nurture the e-list that you have by saying, hey, I went live last week on Facebook. I talked about this, check it out. And then you can link to your Facebook page. So you can use it in so many different ways. So you're not feeling like you're having to reinvent the wheel every week or do like everything if you don't have the time. Just think of like, what can I do that's going to help build relationships and show that I know what I'm talking about? I think they're like the two main things when you're doing content.
Mm-hmm. Well, the video piece, like you said, there are so many people, and I do speak around the country as well, or at least did a whole lot more several months ago prior to COVID. But that is thankfully opening back up again. But there are many, many people that I met over the years for the first time that said, gosh, I feel like I know you because I've been on your YouTube channel, or, you know, and I've listened to your podcast or watched your podcast. And so there truly is that connection, and you can see it. It's genuine when they approach you and they have a conversation as if we've been having this conversation before. So there's no replacement for face-to-face, but boy, that is about the best and the closest that we can get to in order to creating that relationship to open all those doors that we want to open up. So Lyndsay, if we could, let's talk about, what we do is, when we shoot a video, whether it be a video podcast like this or any other lengthy video, then we take it, we, cut it up and splice it and then send it out, to the proper channels. The longer form goes in its full form into YouTube, and then on our website, Facebook, Instagram, and there's a specific way and, size and approach. I'm assuming that's what your firm does as well. So, would you kind of speak to that and how people can maybe shoot something once and then send it off and realize that they don't have to create so much, but they can let the video and other people do the work?
Absolutely. That is my favorite topic, Scott. It's like leveraging one piece of content multiple ways, reuse, recycle. You get more bang for your buck, right? So let's say you've got a really good topic, and actually, I'm going to backtrack. If you do blogs, you can actually use that blog, even if you have someone else write it for you. There's probably at least 3 good points or like subtopics within that you can then do a video on. So you can even recycle your blog that way. Now, when you do a video, you can go live on Facebook, chit chat about your thing, make sure there's a call to action at the end. And then you can share, like, every Facebook post has its own unique link. So you can share it on email. You can have it using repurpose.io. That app will actually allow you to resize it for Instagram. So you can upload it into IGTV. So there are some apps that do make it easier for you. You can take little snippets and use a headliner app. And so make some, like, it's almost like an audio quote, I guess, like a little snippet from it, right? And then you can even transcribe it and then, add some more stuff and make it into a blog and embed the video onto that page. You can take little tiny tips that you said in the video or a quote and make standalone social media quote graphics. I call them snackable bites. Or you can even, from the topic, you can even think of a couple of engaging questions. Like once I did a topic or video on one sheets, and I asked, have you seen any one sheets that are horrendous? Or what is your, what do you think about 2-page one sheets? Like some people hate them, some people like them. So you can kind of ask a fun engagement question that relates to the video. So you're just kind of like taking what you have and like pulling little strings out of it. And then, like put it in YouTube, share it on email. You can even take one of those little tips, make a graphic, but then you can also make a graphic that's longer for the IG stories, Facebook stories. And like you said, there's so many pieces that you can pull out. I think it's just like thinking outside of the box, finding some apps that make it easier, and then having a process. Like for my team, once like a Facebook Live is done, then we have a task list that's like bing, bang, bing, bang, boom. Here's what we need to do. And then it all just goes out. So it's templated every month. You know what I mean?
Oh, Lyndsay, let's talk then. So how do we take that for, let's say, somebody who's getting ready to do a capital raise, and where are the best places to position, or even for that matter, then how do you choose the channels to reach that audience? There's a certain voice that we want to have, and it goes to different audiences. How do you segment and choose those channels?
I know, and it can feel really overwhelming on all the options are, right? Like, do I do a blog? Do I do a podcast? Do I do a video? Do I go on Pinterest or like wherever? And now TikTok, I'm like, oh my God. If your avatar is not an 11-year-old girl, then you don't need to go on TikTok. No, I don't know. Some people are testing it, so we'll see what they say. But you really need to think about your avatar, or think about, like, especially if you are, investing capital and making those connections, who are your 3 best people that you've done deals with or worked with or gotten capital from or whatever? Who are your 3 best ones? What are all of their like similar traits? Like, where do they hang out? How do they learn? Are they up late at night? Are they, busy working on the weekends? Are they, all 50, or are they all male? Whatever that may be, write down all the nitty gritty and figure those pieces out, because that'll be so helpful. And you could even hack and look at people that you follow, right? Like a leader in the industry, or someone that you want to role model after, and like a mentor that you look up to, and look at what they're doing, not to copy them per se, but just kind of get some of that data. Because you can even check out their videos on YouTube and see what keywords that they're ranking for, what kind of videos they're creating that's getting a lot of traction. So kind of check those things out, because you don't want to waste your time on a platform where I call them peeps, your peeps aren't hanging out. I had one client and he was like, oh, we got to get Snapchat going. Everyone's on it. And I'm like, your audience doesn't even know what Snapchat is, let alone go on it. I'm like, no, you're not going there. You really need to think about who you're marketing to. And like, same with like if you're in the corporate space, right? Most of them are on LinkedIn, and they may not necessarily be on Instagram. So don't waste your time and energy creating content for that platform if your people are not hanging out there. So that is key. And then figuring out, like, how do they absorb information? I mean, if you're targeting, I don't know, I'm just pulling this out, but if you're targeting 7-year-old people for whatever, they're probably not really into podcasts or know much about them because it's too much tech or whatever. And if they're not listening to podcasts, then don't do a podcast. Figure out kind of where they're learning and what they're doing. I mean, you can even, if you have a good e-list, like survey them, and find that out. One of my clients actually did that, and we discovered that most of their time is spent within YouTube. And that's where they go to search stuff up, even for like sales and marketing within their industry. And so then we sunk most of the marketing dollars and time on videos in Facebook, but also the YouTube channel, because we knew that's where his peeps were hanging out and getting information. So that kind of data is just so crucial.
Mm-hmm. So where, in terms of, I know people always hesitate to start, and I do my best to live by the motto of done is or good enough is the new done, instead of waiting for perfect. And so people that are getting ready to, let's say, start video or audio, and they feel as if, okay, I've got to go out and I've got to find the latest, greatest camera. Oh, shoot, it's all sold out right now because of COVID, so I'm going to have to wait. Or, I've got to get 3-point lighting, in my office, and, it's noisy, and the kids are at home from school and everything. So I'll just have to wait until I get into a studio and put up moving blankets. And I've and this was hard for control freaks like myself, to get into that position and realize that. And you know what? I mean, one of the best out there in the business, Gary Vee, as well as all, many of the other folks, I mean, they're in the back of cabs and they're shooting with their phones, and there's their interruptions, and they won't even stop. They won't edit out the interruptions.
No.
They walk in their office and people still listen. They are the authorities. And so, what advice would you have for those folks that are, getting ready to, they're fixing to, they're about to, and they just refuse to do so?
I think do it anyways, because $10 says you're procrastinating due to fear. And I remember when my coach, my business coach, was like, "You got to do a podcast, you got to do videos," and I was like, "Holy crap, I'm petrified." And it's like, my first 2 videos, they were horrendous, and so were my first 2 podcasts. And you just like, it's the way it is, right? Whatever. You get better as you go. But I think the main key is, are you sharing information that's helping someone? Because people always think too, Scott, and I don't know if you've heard this too, but like, oh, I don't want to go live on Facebook because what if no one's listening, or what if no one's watching? But because that's evergreen and you can still see it up there, and same within the video section of your Facebook page and stuff, I don't even think about that anymore. I'm like, I just want to make sure that I'm helping someone with a tip, and that I'm being authentic, because I've seen like the fancy studio videos, and I'm like, meh, like, I just feel like it's all contrived. And I would much rather listen or connect with someone that's like a regular human being that's living their life. They just want to help others. They're authentic, they're genuine. And because that's what people connect to, right?
So if we could, Lyndsay, in the few minutes that we have left here, let's talk about, we don't have to go into a full-blown case study, but if you could think of one of your clients or somebody, or even including yourself, where you began, that all of a sudden, when you started doing, creating a regular rhythm of videos, of posts, whatever that looks like, we know it's not immediate, but what did that look like then, 3, 6, 9, 12 months down the road? If you could just think back and of yourself or somebody that had that experience, and what it meant and how it grew their business just by getting out there and doing this.
Absolutely. I mean, even like one of my clients, when I first started out, he had a list of 800 people. And we did lead magnets, and he did webinars, and, we had regular blogs and videos on social. And now it's like 15,000 or something. And, he's built products, so his funnels have grown and grown. But I always think back and I'm like, oh man, remember when you used to use Get Response and you only had 800 people on your list? And now it's like, oh, it's crazy. But even myself, it's like, I was just me and a couple of team members and, a few clients, and then it grew, and I've got a team of 11 now. And it's just from putting myself out there, like doing the podcast, doing the videos, guesting on other people's shows. I get comments like, oh my God, you're everywhere. You're like a content machine. And it's that like, oh, it's that credibility, right? And that awe factor, that it makes an impact. And it's not a short-term game. It's not like you're going to do 5 videos and you're going to get like a big deal is going to come, rolling in. It's taking the time to gain those relationships, to talk with those people, connect other people, and serving. Honestly, if you're not in it to help other people, I think people like, oh, I'm just doing this to get more leads. People see right through that.
Mm-hmm. 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 Well, the reason why I asked that question is to provide that encouragement that you can teach people now and years from now from the content that you create once. And even if it is outdated, we several times we go through and think, gosh, we should purge some of these videos from YouTube, or we should take some of this information down. But it's situational, and people still continue to consume it. And some of those are our most downloadable teachings and posts and videos, and people are still learning from that, even though the quality is bad and I had a lot more hair and you think it's not relevant, but people still continue to learn, and we keep it up there for also for the sheer volume, SEO purposes, and Google likes to see all that as well. So at the end of the day, just start. It's all about launching, getting the information out there. Don't worry about scripting and have everything perfect, because right now, today, everybody can see through that. Just be relevant and real. And if you've got something that is helpful that you learned today, and then share
absolutely. I have an interesting story for you if we have a little time. So I was helping, he's real estate investing, and he's new, and he is a pilot. And so he does both, right? And he wanted to set up his new site and stuff like that. And he didn't want to share that he was a pilot, like, at all. And I'm like, what? I'm like, no. I'm like, that is killer. And I'm like, it sets you apart, right? And then you would also go after other pilots who want to, grow their passive income, if they want to get into investing, because they can relate to you, because they are you. So, and he's like, really? I'm like, absolutely. You have to lean into who you are and what your story is, because that's what attracts. And people will think, oh, it's too niche. I'm like, no, like, you're setting yourself up as an expert in that kind of, that area and those people. And so like now, like, his website is so freaking cool. And he's like got that, the pilot hat. It's not corny or anything, but like, and even just like the language that we've used and the copy and the messaging, and then he's done a couple of videos already, and he's like, oh my God, this video is practically going viral. I'm like, see, you're embracing who you are and you're connecting with people.
Well, so let's, as we wrap up here, Lyndsay, once again, I want to thank you so much for your time, but people can get a hold of you if they want to begin and, get out there, whether they're launching or growing, scaling their business. How do they find you? And talk a little bit more about what you do for folks and how you help them.
You betcha. So I definitely recommend going to the reimarketinggroup.com. So that's the Facebook I have for real estate investors who want to grow their marketing and build stronger relationships. I do have some free content at reimarketingexperts.com/swipe. And my main site, the parent company, if you will, is smoothbusinessgrowth.com. And and I'm super approachable. So just DM me if you have any questions or want to know my favorite tools. I love sharing. So I'm here to help.
Fantastic. Lyndsay, once again, thanks so much. And I've seen your work. So folks, she is the real deal. And she's worked with several folks that I know in the industry. And yes, they are out there. They are the people that we would say, gosh, they are everywhere. And Lyndsay is behind that. So go to her site, pull down some of those downloads, and then check her out. So with that, Lyndsay, thanks so much for your time. Have a great day today. Bye now.
All right. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening as always. Now, we're going to be talking about topics like this that are on target for the times that we find ourselves in. So it is important that you are listening to this podcast every single week, because the guests that I'm going to be bringing on and the topics we will be covering are relevant to what we are all going through right now. And it's just going to get better and better and better in terms of the content that we're going to be discussing. And it's going to be more timely than ever. So please, make sure you subscribe to the show and make sure you're paying attention to these episodes as they are coming out during this period, as I am specifically going out and finding guests who are providing really valuable information you need right now. So thank you so much. We'll see you next week.